Brodes Media.
I feel so much better right now than I did seconds after the clock hit 0. And normally, if the game's at 1, I don't hit start recording literally the second it ticks to 0. But because it was Monday Night Football, my sleep schedule was all out of place. It was super late in the morning. I wanted to kind of get things started rather quickly. I didn't have as much time as I normally do to digest. And I don't apologize for that, by the way. Those were my real, raw thoughts in the moment. But if a game's at 1, I tend to record maybe 30, 40 minutes after the game. I get to sit on. And 40 minutes is a world of a difference, because you can even hear my tone in the instant reaction show by the 35-minute mark compared to when I started ripping. Jalen sucked, and I can't believe the offense was such shit. And, I was just in my feels. And not that I no longer feel that way, but I have a different tone with it, if that makes sense. But let me say this, though. That's a fucking huge win. Huge win. If you lose that and you start playing the chasing game, and we still have more work to do, by the way, Sunday at the Link, and that's going to come rather quickly. And you're now without Jair Alexander, who I didn't have the highest hopes for, but I didn't see him randomly deciding to contemplate retirement on you, considering what he was saying in the locker room after his week of practice. And is it just weird that two guys decided to do that in the same season with him and Zadarius Smith? Or is there a reason why these newcomers decide to do it? I don't know. I'm wishing him the best and wishing him well. And I know he's going through a lot physically and mentally with that part of the game. And he wants to recalibrate. And I got no issue with that. It's a weird situation to see once, let alone twice in the same season. But anyway, that win, it really could be, and I don't want to go too obnoxious here, but that could have been season changing. Maybe season defining might be a better word to use. But it's so significant to continue to be the team with the target on your back, instead of in the mix with everybody else, and now you're peeking up at Seattle, you're looking up at these other teams, and you're trying to prove yourself with a very frustrating offense, to say the least, if we're being open. But, go get that win. Go on the road, beat Green Bay, win in a tough battle where you're both playing great defensively, and somebody's got to fail. Someone's got to make the mistake. Someone's got to do the wrong thing. Don't let it be you. Keep up that greatness. That new D-line, that new pass rush, let that new personality shine. And they sure did on the road. After a bye week, new faces. It could be season-defining, season-changing. There's always that game. There's a Thursday night game against Carolina Panthers. There's a game against Green Bay and Jordan Howard, all those touchdowns. There's always a regular season game where it sends a message to the fan base. It tells you something about that group, and sometimes you feel it in the moment, and other times, maybe it's more of with time, you understand the importance of it, but you don't know then. You know with time what it told you. And it's bizarre that the score is 10-7, but wouldn't that be the most Jalen Hurts type of season-defining win in the history of Jalen Hurts? It's not supposed to make sense. Hell, we even broke Spike Eskin. Because Spike Eskin today, to open up the afternoon show, was essentially saying, you know what? I've been barking and I've been criticizing this organization and team over however long it's been, and it Just hit me. Like, all they do is win. They just win. Welcome to the party. And a buddy of mine who's a big Detroit sports fan hit me up. Shout out, Keith. I love you. And he hits me with this. You can't be too encouraged about what you saw, right? The Lions are going to come into town and smack you around. Give you a little pimp slap. Ooh, disrespectful. And I go, no, you don't understand. If you need 40, they get 40. If you need 17, they get 17. If you need 10, they get 10. If you need 24, you get 24. When you watch them on a day-to-day basis, you get it. When you don't get it. So the Eagles don't look like something to others. They don't smell like something to others. It's just more about the resume and more about the history of what they've accomplished and not so much the style of play they're playing now. But what you don't realize is they're actually starting to be a mirror of last year. Last year's regular season offense was very questionable, extremely flawed, and annoying. Their defense created this swagger, and then eventually it got married together. And they were doing some ridiculous things. We're following that trend now, especially with the addition of Jalen Phillips. So all that to say, I just want to make sure that we recognize how serious of a moment that was. And some fans are probably hiding behind the electric defensive battle too much, where you're not criticizing both teams' offense, to be fair, throughout. I mean, this is the same team. What did the Dallas Cowboys do to this Green Bay Packers team? All right, let's go to that. What was it? Cowboys versus Green Bay score. That would be 40-40 overtime tie. And I get it. Vic Fangio's defense ain't Dallas. But that Green Bay 40. My point is this. It was fun. It was sort of like, let's go, old school football. Meet me in the middle of the trenches and let's have those pads hit, baby. Let's hear that, make a big pop, a big from the crowd. Everybody at once, 60,000 people can't even believe it. That sounded harsh. It sounded intense. It was a big, clean hit. Everybody's okay. But it was just a monster good football hit up the A-gap. Maybe it's Nakobe Dean flying around. And I appreciate that. I do. That is enjoyable football, even if the score is a low score. I do think you're allowing some of the offense, though, off the hook when you do that. Season changing. And I actually mentioned this next part on my skate takes. If you don't know what my skate takes are, it's when I rollerblade around the front of my neighborhood in the morning. And I post it on Twitter as I give you my takes. You can follow me at Brodes81. And the Giants, when they fired Brian Daboll, I went around and listened to what some of the big sports talk radio hosts in New York were saying, and some of the local podcasts up there and whatnot. And I was just listening. That's what I do. I'm a sicko. I appreciate the craft. I listen to big markets when some crazy things happen in their sports town. Sue me. And one of the things that was mentioned was their incomprehensible amount of blowing leads. And when you look at when they lost to Denver, and when you see some of their other egregious losses in the fourth quarter, not individually, but stack those up, and the odds of that happening is 1 in 60,000. And if you are hitting on something that's 1 for 60,000, then that's not just unlucky. That's too insane of a number where I think you're doing something for that to happen. Because you don't just accident. If that's the case, we'd all be getting struck by lightning. 1 in 60,000 for you to lose all of those games in the fashion that you did when you had the 95, 98, 97% winning chance. You're doing something to even put yourself in that position. And self-inflicted wounds are occurring with Brian Daboll and Shane and anybody in that front office for you to even have a chance for those numbers to hit. And I apply that to the Eagles in this sense. You go on the road and you face Kansas City in week 2. You end up going on the road and facing Tampa Bay. You go on the road in Lambeau Field. And these are teams, when you go on the road, you normally don't win. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles are different. But that's my point is, when you look at the rest of the league, you win these games. Teams traditionally don't win these games. You're doing it at such a high clip that you're putting yourself in the position to win these extreme amount of games over 4 years, over the Jalen Hurts experience, over Nick Sirianni. If you're one of 60,000 to win this consistently, you're doing something to put you in that position. And I feel very strongly about that.